In this text snip, I'm going to show you how to create a regex command trigger in PoshBot. Let's get started. Regex triggers in PoshBot use regular expressions to match the text entered in a chat network to a command registered in the bot. The other trigger types of command and event are covered in other snips. A regex trigger is useful if you want a command to be triggered based on the bot casually listening to messages in the chat room and matching what users type to commands in the bot. Let's go over a few settings you can change to control how these commands are used. This first function here called getCookies is what we'll modify. You can see that there is nothing PoshBot specific going on here. By default, PoshBot imports your public functions of a module and treats them as command-based triggers. The name of the command in PoshBot will be the name of the function or commandlet in the module. We're going to modify this so that instead of triggering off of the name of the command or function, it will trigger off a regex expression that we'll define. Let's add the PoshBot.bot command custom attribute to the function so that we can modify how the function is executed. First, we're going to set the command property to false. This will tell PoshBot that this command cannot be executed with the bang symbol followed by the command name. Next, we'll set the trigger type to regex. The default value for this property is command. We need to change that to tell PoshBot to trigger off the regex match instead of the command name. Lastly, we need to specify the regular expression to match chat messages against. We'll set this to cookies. This regular expression will match if any part of the chat message has the word cookies in it. Notice that we also have a parameter here called arguments of type object array. This will contain the values of any parameters sent to the function by setting the parameter attribute value from remaining arguments to true. This is required for regex-based triggers in PoshBot. I'll explain more about that in the next function. This second function here called getGrafanaGraph will also be set to be triggered off a regex, but we're going to be a little bit more advanced about the regular expression. Notice that our regular expression says to trigger off the word Grafana, but only if it is the first word of the message, followed by a space, and either the words CPU or disk, followed by another space, and then any word. PoshBot will pass any regex capture groups to the command via the arguments parameter. This is why it is required for regex-based triggers. Inside the function, we can access the arguments passed by their index number in the arguments array variable. The first element of the array at position 0 will contain the full text of the message that matched the regular expression. Any other array elements will be the regex capture groups. These are the items of the regular expression enclosed in parentheses. Now that we've configured how this function will be referenced in PoshBot, let's fire it up. I've already configured PoshBot to run as a service. You can check out the How to Run PoshBot as a Windows Service snip for more information on how to set that up. Okay, now that PoshBot is started, let's head on over to Slack. This plugin has already been installed into PoshBot, and we can verify that by running get plugin. Let's also get the help for the commands to see what PoshBot registered them as, now that we've changed their trigger type to regex. You can see that PoshBot lists the command name as getCookies, yet the usage property shows that to trigger the command, we just need to use the word cookies. And the same is true when we look at the help for the Grafana command. The usage property will display the regex used to match against the chat messages. Now let's enter a message that has the word cookies in it. Notice that the command triggered based on this sentence, and we didn't directly call the getCookies command. Now let's take a look at the Grafana command. If we type the word Grafana in any part of the sentence but the first word, our command won't be triggered. It also won't be triggered if the first word was Grafana, but the second word isn't CPU or disk. Now let's try entering a message that will match the regex. You can see that our command fired, and what was entered after the word Grafana was captured in the regex capture groups. And that's how you can create regular expression-based triggers in PoshBot.